Hello everyone. In the previous module, in the previous two lessons, 5.1 and 5.2, which were under responsibilities as a student and citizen, we had talked about national and global citizenship. When we talked about national and global citizenship, we did see that to maintain a national citizenship or to acquire a national citizenship, what all did we have to do? How could we acquire? So we could have acquired it by birth, by descent, by naturalization, by investment, by marriage. And every parameter that it had its own different framework. We had different formalities for each that we were supposed to carry out and acquire. When we want national citizenship and when we talk about documentation or any identification proof that comes associated with us being Indian nationals, the Aadhaar card that we use is the closest. Now it has all the information that is required for us to prove our nationality. It has our address, it has our date of birth, and other important things, including the identification number that you carry, that is individual to everyone. We know that. Just by mere filling in that identification number, all your detail is made available to at any government portal. When we talk about global citizenship, again things may be different, paperwork may be a little different, because here a global passport also comes into play. We know that a global passport is very important for us to travel, for us to seek citizenship or nationality in any other country besides our own. But then again, that particular country, to wherever we are taking the citizenship, it will have its own ground rules, it will have its own legal system, it will have its own binding force, where they give you the privileges and the rights, but then you are also expected to be responsible citizens by carrying out the rights carefully. And the legal system also falls into place, because then you have to work and comply by it. You cannot just be out of bound. And then you have ethnicities to be tolerable to, you have various backgrounds you need to be tolerant to, you need to adjust, you need to associate well with wherever you are going, because wherever you're going, you want to settle, you want to live well, you want to work well, you have to be in considerable harmony with that place. And if you're not in harmony, you cannot be at peace. If you are not at harmony and peace, certainly the quality of life that you expect out for yourself, or the quality of life that the country will be offering to you, will come down. So I'm sure when we make that move, or we are attempting to make that move, it is always for the better. We work towards progression. When we want to make a move, we think about better prospects, a better future for ourselves, for our family, for our children, so many things. Now, in this lesson 5.3 today, we are going to be talking about fundamental duties and democratic values. So, here we talk about fundamental duties and democratic values of our nation. Let's walk ahead. So, what, according to you, are fundamental duties? Fundamental duties are very simple to understand, but if you work with a mental block, we will make things difficult to survive, to understand, to learn, to adapt, to be accountable. So, in India, fundamental duties are a set of moral obligations enshrined in the constitution for its citizens. Now, in the previous module in 5.1, we did talk about the Indian constitution. We talked about the various human rights which make you capable to live freely, which make you capable to live well, which can help you to live in tandem with the environment, with the society also that is around you. They are not legally enforceable in the same way as fundamental rights, meaning you cannot directly go to the court to demand their enforcement. They are not legally binding. It is a very broad perspective. Like we had the freedom of speech, we had the freedom of exploit, the freedom of not the right that we do not exploit people. There's so many things that we saw, we talked about. However, they serve as a constant reminder to citizens of their responsibilities towards the nation and society. So it's not that we are not mindful of, it does keep in our mind, but then certain times we tend to overlook, we tend to ignore, we tend to not bother. But then when we tend to not bother and overlook and ignore, then it becomes difficult for us. It doesn't only become difficult for us, it becomes difficult for the environment we are in, it becomes difficult for the society that we are in. Why? Because we are accountable. Okay, so we will talk about 11 fundamental duties which are listed in Article 51A. I'm sure most of us are aware of what we are going to talk about, and this is just a bird's eye view of what it entails for us. It shall be the duty of every citizen of India. See, it says every, it doesn't say selective, so it says every, which includes all of us, to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions. What else? The national flag and national anthem. So we have to have due respect, and we need to have genuine respect. It's not by force, it has to come from within. Respect which is by force doesn't last very long. Respect, however, which comes from within goes a long way. It is genuine, it is reflected. To cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. Now, all of us have read history at some point in time. When we've read history in our formative years in school, we know that we were not a free nation. Initially free, but yes, then we were a British colony. So we had lots of people who contributed significantly towards our achieving freedom. And that freedom was not cheap. So many people are no longer there, were no longer there, were sacrificed during the episode of acquiring freedom. So it is not cheap again. It has come with a cost, and we need to realize that the cost that was paid was not very little. We need to respect that the freedom that was bought for us is very, very huge, and that if the freedom that was has been given to us, it has to be used correctly, it has to be used mindfully. We cannot just arbitrarily say that we are a free nation. Well, that freedom has cost us so much. The history is a witness to how it happened, how it unfolded, and how we are now. To uphold and protect the sovereignty until unity and integrity of India. So we have to uphold it, we have to live by it. We have to uphold what? The sovereignty, we know, the unity and integrity. So every nation has a rich cultural heritage. Every nation is integral in self. So we talk about our nation, that we need to do all these things to keep things in place, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. So if we are allowed or we are given an opportunity to serve the nation in any which way, we have to indulge ourselves into it, whether we are happy about it, whether we are not happy about it. But if we do it willingly, it's going to be good for us, it is going to be good for the nation. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities. To renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. So, here we are talking about lots of parameters. What are the parameters that we are talking about here? Is the religious parameter. We have so much of friction still which goes on as a religion. There are so many religions, not at large, but will have grievance against the other religion, will have some kind of disrespect still. Why? Because we do not value the other religion. And why do not we value? Because we fall into malpractices, we fall into misunderstandings, we fall into false understandings or understandings which have been given to us or provided to us by our ancestors or our society. We talk about linguistic and regional or sectional diversifications. Why do we believe in sectional diversifications? Because if we are one unit, then why do we create this divide? The divide that doesn't help but only brings down people, brings down societies, brings down so many other things, brings down our moral values, brings down our ethical values. To value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. See, here we are saying composite culture. Composite culture means in totality. So, we are talking about all backgrounds, we are talking about all religions. We need to value and preserve. We have a rich heritage. Every religion has a rich heritage. So, we cannot be judgmental about anything. To protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife. Why? Because this is the environment that we live in. So, if we hamper the ecosystem, will we be able to live well? No, we will not be able to sustain. We talked about sustainable goals, and the sustainable goals have talked about all of this being in balance, in sync with the human. To have compassion for living creatures. Living creatures are not only humans, animals have a life, plants have a life, so we need to have that empathy for them, the compassion for them. Empathy and compassion are basically from the core of your heart, nothing is artificial about it. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. So it is a collective force, like how we talked about an organization, an employer and an employee together form a unit. They work in tandem so that the organization does well. If both of them do not work together in a tandem, the organization cannot do well. So here we are talking about the world that we live in. So we have to be collective, whether we share the same social background, whether we share the same religious background, whether we share the same belief or not, it has to be a collective effort. If it is not a collective effort, it cannot be a collective goal. To provide opportunities for education to his child, or as the case may be, what between the age of 6 and 14 years. So, education, as we said, is very important for all, and it is very mandatory for little children in their formative years to have formal education. Why? Because it sets their mindset into rolling. It helps them to think rationally, it helps them to be mindful of what they are doing, it helps them to learn well what other things that they are doing. So, this particular duty was added in 2002 by the 86th Amendment Act. It is important now, I'm sure it may have been important then, but just not included. So, what are the democratic values? Let's take a look. India has the world's largest democracy, demographically, we are talking, places immense importance on a set of core democratic values that are deeply embedded in its constitution and societal fabric. Now, how is a fabric? There are so many threads which are intertwined into the fabric. So, same way, there are so many people, there are so many societies, there are so many religions, there are so many ethnic societies that we have. So, everything works together, everything is so beautifully woven and intricately woven. When you pull out one thread, the entire fabric gets damaged. We do not want to wear anything which has a pulled thread, so it is damaging. So, you can imagine how in the largest democracy, if anything doesn't work very well, how awry will it look? How bad will it look? These values guide the governance of the nation and define the relationship between the state and its citizens. So it shows their interconnectedness, how a nation is connected to its citizens. For Indian citizens, Upholding these values is crucial for the continued health and progress of the democracy. So, if the democracy wants to progress, if an individual wants to progress, then everything has to work in coordination, has to work in interconnectedness. Otherwise, we cannot progress. Why do they say health and progress? Continued health. Health is not only of an individual, health is of an entire nation. How healthy you are, how healthy your mindset is, how healthy are the people in general. So, the keys of the democratic value for Indian citizens are sovereignty, socialism, very important, secularism is actually the need of the hour. If you think about so many incidences which happen, which do not help us to practice secularity, brings people down, it defames religions. Democracy, why more so? Because we the largest democracy in the world. Justice, we need to have equitable justice. We need to know it is important. We need to live well. Liberty, we are free to do so many things, but then we need to know our boundary, which we cannot cross, our margins. Equality, we need to have equalization, we need to have equity. And in the end, least, not at all, is fraternity. So these democratic values are not merely abstract. Abstract would mean that they are not just out of the blues, but are meant to be lived and practiced by every Indian citizen. It is not binding only for few people or few selected or one race or one social pattern. No, it is for everyone, by every Indian citizen, to ensure the vibrant and resilient nature of India's democracy. That we are vibrant, we know, because all of us have something different to share. Our skill sets are different, our ethnicities are different. Every value that our ethnicity carries is different. Though it may overlap sometimes, but yet it is different, and sometimes you will be astounded at what a particular ethnic form can give to you. So that is how India as a democracy can function well, being the largest democracy in the world. With that, we finish the lesson. So I hope that it was enlightening to talk about fundamental duties and democratic values. And when we talked about democratic values, we did see that we need to have secularism, we need to have liberty, we need to have equality, we need to have justice in our system, we need to have fraternity that we talk about, and it is only then that everything can fall into place and we can run well. Otherwise, it is very difficult. Look at the expanse of our nation, look at the demography, very different. Society is very different, but then still it is unified. So we need to continue to work towards that unity that we have. Thank you.